Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Winecast. This is another mini-cast on a particular grape varietal, and this time around our guest grape is Cabernet Sauvignon, because I figured we might as well start out with the heavy hitters, and it doesn't get much heavier than this. Let's start out with a fun fact about Cab Sauv's origins by noting that it's the result of an unintentional cross between Cabernet Franc and Sauvignon Blanc sometime during the 1600s in southwest France. Though Cab Sauv is one of the signature grapes of Bordeaux, it wouldn't be planted widely in that region until the century following its birth, with the producer Mouton being one of the first producers to cultivate it in the region, and also probably an early source of vines for other Bordeaux winemakers. And yes, that's the same Mouton that would later become Chateau Mouton and then Chateau Mouton Rothschild, and would be famous for its part in the 1855 classification. All of this may strike you as odd if you're fond of Bordeaux, because Cab Sauv does play a big part in that wine style, especially on the left bank, and you might be wondering what left bank Bordeauxs were like before Cab Sauv came around. The answer is that Malbec was in the driver's seat and stayed there for a while, at least until the early 1800s, when Cab Sauv began to overtake it in popularity for those blends. Cab Sauv is a truly international variety, found just about everywhere, though it does shy away from regions that have early winters. Based on data gathered by the University of Adelaide, it's the most widely planted grape varietal in the world as of 2010. The major producers in order of number of hectares planted to the grape are France, Chile, the United States, and Australia, but China and Spain, both places with little history of Cab Sauv, are right behind Australia in terms of hectares planted, and though it's not impossible, it's really something of a challenge to find a wine region in the world that isn't growing at least a little bit of Cab Sauv. Cabernet Sauvignon is a late ripening grape, usually ripening a week or two after Merlot and Cab Franc are good to go, which is one of the reasons why that it doesn't do well in areas with early winters. The berries are small and thick-skinned with relatively large seeds, and so wines made from Cab Sauv tend to be high in tannin. In warm climates where it can get fully ripe, Cab Sauv really goes to town, and the wines made in these regions tend to be high in alcohol as well. The acid range for Cab Sauv is a very food-friendly moderate to high. Cabernet Sauvignon plays very well with oak, which helps to round out some of the big fruit flavors that Cab can bring to the table. And the very few unoaked Cab Sauvs that I've ever had, though pleasant, all felt like they were missing some complexity. The nose and palate profiles for this grape tend to highlight dark fruits like black cherry, black currant, and blackberry, while bringing along savory undertones of chocolate, tobacco, black pepper, violets, and even mint. Australia and a few other places are famous for notes of eucalyptus on the nose and palate, and the best explanation for these, thanks to experiments done by the Australian Wine and Research Institute in 2012, is that the proximity of eucalyptus trees to the grapevines resulted in transfer of flavor compounds from the trees to the grape skins that were later transferred to the wine during maceration and fermentation. The transference could be both airborne or the result of eucalyptus leaves getting into the bins of harvested grapes. In cooler climates, you might also get more or less pronounced green pepper or herbaceous aromas and flavors. This is due to compounds called methoxypyrazines that are present in green peppers, but are also in several grape varieties, including Cab Sauv, that are thought of as Bordeaux varieties, like Merlot and Carmenere, as well as Cab Sauv's parents, Cab Franc and Sauv Blanc. These compounds diminish based on the ripeness of the harvested grapes and also based on the use of various viticultural techniques. Aging in new oak barrels and other aggressive oak treatments will add various notes to the wine, with vanilla being the most prevalent, and extended aging in bottle will usually result in deep, savory notes like leather and the famous cigar box. There's a lot of Cab in the world, so you should make sure that you try some key styles to help you make sense of all the different Cab Sauvs that you might encounter. The classic, of course, is Left Bank Bordeaux, but keep in mind that what you're getting here is a blend and not 100% or not even usually 75% example of the grape. Also, grapes in Bordeaux have traditionally gone through a long maceration process where the grape skins are left in contact with the juice in order to promote extraction of flavor compounds. So Bordeauxs, especially when they're young, tend to have a lot of tannin up front and not so much fruit as wines made in a more New World style. Speaking of the New World, head to Napa and try a big, bold, fruit-driven cab, and then maybe head north to Washington State's Red Mountain AVA to check out the big, fruity yet tannic reds that are produced there. In Australia, Coonawarra is a good place to experience the famed minty eucalyptusy notes on a nice big fruit-forward wine, and Barossa will also give you big, expressive fruit that's often blended with Shiraz for an interesting twist. Thanks for joining me for another short cast on a grape. Look for more of these as well as longer topic-driven casts, or better yet, subscribe and we'll let you know when a new cast is ready. Please like if this was helpful or enjoyable to you, and I always look forward to comments. I'm the Unknown Winecaster and I'm out. Enjoy the grape, but always enjoy it responsibly.